cloud is fine, then I'll send you. Yeah, you got it. You're done.
Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome again to the April Sales Enablement Society Atlanta chapter meeting. Super excited to have everyone here. I hope you all are making the most of what I like to call the social distancing sojourn, just because it's fun to say. Anything that includes humor and laughter, I'm going for these days. And you know what? Speaking of, my take on the sales enablement profession is that it's more important than ever as we enter this new normal. I'm really excited to have Elay on. I've been able to participate in the MULTIPLIERS conference where we're having exactly that conversation. And I mean, it's just cool. Sales enablement practitioners in general, I do, and I know a lot of you do, have such a rare and deep and wide background in the combination of being face-to-face and being virtual, in the way we do business, in the platforms we use. And I love where we're at. And I'm honored to be leading the Atlanta chapter into this new chapter. For those of you that are not familiar with the Atlanta Sales Enablement Society, I know we've got some new folks that are joining, and we've had a lot of people sharing the invite around. I want to let you know that we exist, as you can probably tell, to elevate the profession itself of sales enablement in Atlanta and really ultimately around the world. We have an amazing opportunity to have the level of impact as Atlanta, the global level of impact, as Atlanta was chosen. For those of you that were at the February meeting, we kicked off the global countdown to the Sales Enablement Society's annual experience and unveiled the theme, which is going to be Forward Momentum for a New Decade. Maybe it will be forward momentum for a new normal decade once we get down to it. But so far, by the way, we're full speed ahead. We're having planning meetings every Wednesday, and it's still planning to come to Atlanta. So we're going to go with that. We've got a backup plan for virtual, of course, but we are the host to the world of sales enablement in September. So really appreciate everyone joining. We've got an absolutely all-star cast. Again, Elay's here from SalesHood. Thank you again to him for not only joining us, but for sponsoring the bridge so that we could be professional in our face, not only to the Atlanta chapter, but to the world, since we're having a lot of nice good additional folks join us from other regions. Both Elay and Dave, and I'll tell you a little bit about them in a second, are going to be walking us through the challenges and triumphs that they've had in converting their events from face-to-face to virtual. Elay's was originally going to be in March and going to be 2-3 days in San Francisco. I'm sure he'll talk a little bit about that. And he has converted it to initially the entire month of April on Tuesdays and Thursdays being virtual. And today he made a big announcement that we're going to keep that party rolling on into May. So looking forward to hearing a little bit about that. And he might even have an offer for y'all to join the party. And Dave, very similarly, in I believe March originally, was going to be doing a partner conference in Boston and shifted that to virtual. And for Elay's event, both Amy Benoit, who is a peer as the Sales Enablement Society San Diego chapter leader, and also the founder and leader of her own company, ALLpropos. She's joining us to give a little bit of feedback on multipliers. And Josie Marshburn, our very own Atlanta Sales Enablement leader and CEO and co-founder of the Sales Enablement Benchmark, attended Dave's event. So with that, I'll go ahead and shift gears and get the spotlight put on the right folks. And by the way, at the end, hopefully you guys can stick around. We'll do a little bit of Q&A as we're going through. Feel free to use the chat feature, and we'll collect those questions. And if the speakers want to go ahead and field those, they can on the fly if we're doing well on time. But we'll definitely address them at the end, and we'll kind of open it up for questions. And we'll also take a minute. We're trying something new here, clearly, to kind of get people's feedback on if you like the 5 o'clock time, if you like Zoom, if you have any other feedback. And so I'm planting that seed early. If you do have to drop early, any suggestions you have on upcoming topics, on the format, on the timing, on the cadence of how we go about this. This is your society, and we want to make sure that it rocks for you. So all of your feedback is welcome. So with that, it's my pleasure to introduce first off Elay Cohen. who is the founder and CEO of SalesHood, which is a sales enablement platform. I love the backstory that Elay was the product manager for Salesforce, as in salesforce.com. I still call it SFDC, which probably dates me ridiculously. When Mark Benioff himself tapped him on the shoulder to build out the sales enablement function for Salesforce. Pretty sweet. He's written a book or two. He's running the MULTIPLIERS conference. He's been recognized by LinkedIn as one of the world's top sales experts. And again, he was a former vice president of sales productivity at Salesforce and took them from 500 million to 3 billion in revenue while he was there. So really excited to introduce you to Elay. Without further ado, the floor is yours, sir. Tell us all about MULTIPLIERS and the amazing stuff going on out west and now globally.
Perfect. Okay, everyone, good to be here. Good to see your faces. And I think Werner also dialed in. Werner Schmidt. He is he's an official. Here he is. He's calling in from Dublin. But Sage has a big presence in the ATL Atlanta community. So I just want to call you out, Werner, and say, hey, good to see you, my friend.
Thank you, Elay. Good to see you too. Hi, everyone.
So listen, it's good to be here. And Eric and I have gotten to know each other. We met at last year's conference, and we got to, spend evening together, which was super fun. Nice dinner, nice collaboration around sales enablement. We've stayed in touch, and, he reached out to me a couple weeks ago, and I said, hey, join MULTIPLIERS. And he said, sure. I don't know what that is, but I'm going to join. And boom, he's kind of jumped in, and he is kind of like Amy, really kind of, I think, attended every single one, participating in the online, offline experience. And so, he said, hey, can you come and just tell the team how you pivoted very quickly from a live event to an in-person? Because there's some relevance to how we're running our sales enablement teams and our programs. And I thought, sure, I'd love to. So this is kind of a little bit of like the behind the scenes or the making of, and I have some slides which I'll share right now. And just to kind of give folks some perspective, I founded SalesHood about 7 years ago. Actually, the 7th anniversary is coming up next week. And I was at Salesforce for about 8 years. And so have some experience with sales enablement. And so for those of you that are not as familiar with Zoom, I encourage you, since I'm doing presentation mode now, you can switch to gallery view. That's the little check boxes on the left, so that way you are able to see people and see the slides. So did I make the transition okay? Are we on slides now? Okay, very good. So listen, MULTIPLIERS, right? This is our 6th one that we've run over the years. It's a way to bring together sales enablement professionals to have a conversation, collaboration around some of the biggest issues we're facing in the enablement world. And we called it MULTIPLIERS because we believe we as enablement professionals are here to multiply revenue, multiply outcomes. So this is a good word for us, and it's stuck over the years. And I'm also here. Amy is here as well, and I love it. Amy's been at a couple of these, and we grabbed this awesome picture of the community last year. We had about 200 people in person, and whoops, and sorry. And there's Amy. She made all of my promo material. I love it. And so Amy's been a big supporter. She also had implemented SalesHood with one of her customers when she was doing some advisory work, and she's been a customer. So she's very familiar with sales enablement platforms. And Werner is a customer as well. So this will be a lively conversation. Werner is also here. He was a speaker, so he spoke. So here's what I want to do. Let's get into the details. So, it was a 2-day conference, and we found out on March 17th that was the official day that, we were not allowed to come together as groups in San Francisco. And, I think maybe it was the week before that I decided to cut it. The week before I decided that we weren't going to host it. And then on the 17th, we went on a lockdown. So it was the right decision. And, the thing that I had going was we had a theme. We had a ton of great content that had already been working. We had all the speakers lined up, and, and this is what the conference became. And I just had to start getting creative on what would be the best way to deliver this, and, months, weeks, a day. And I think what I what I ultimately came to was, a one-day experience. I just didn't feel like people would appreciate one full day. I just felt like that's just not a way to spend time. And so let's take the topics, let's take the content, and let's chunk it up over a 30-day window of time. I had 8 to 10 sessions. It kind of worked, and I just started saying April is multipliers month, and you can see here. This is on the website, right? So I'm just going to walk you through it, right? Opening keynote. I picked a theme, and the theme is the word impact. The reason why we picked impact as a theme was we've concluded that one of the biggest hurdles that enablement people struggle with today is to be able to succinctly tell their story of impact, of revenue impact that they're having. So we thought, why don't we just have impact be the theme? And let's have every speaker talk about the impact they're having on their priorities, the impact they're having on their processes, and the impact that they're having on their people. And those are kind of the three themes, and that's how we've structured this thing. And is there messages down below? Oh, somebody wants in, so I just let them in. Okay, so that's kind of like what we did, and super excited about this. Like Werner was a speaker here, and he did building the business case. So you can see the flow, right? The first one was impact keynote. We laid the foundation. It was a 90-minute session. Then we had Telium. Lori spoke about revenue outcomes. And this isn't about, hey, let me show you SalesHood. This was about, what are the revenue outcomes that are most important to me, and what are the activities and the metrics and KPIs that we need to be able to manage and measure so we can actually run the business successfully. And so really thoughtful talk. Werner then kind of punctuated the importance of priorities and impact by showing us how to build a business case for sales enablement. Again, really thoughtful topics. And then his peer gave a little demo. And then, one of the things we did change was we got really focused in on, hey, why don't we help folks, because folks started saying the topics are great, but how do we connect with people to really understand what are they doing to enable in these times? So this was a slight adjustment where we had 2 speakers adjust their topics to map to how are they pivoting their sales enablement programs to be virtual. Really great. Whoops, sorry. What else here? So you see, so anyway, listen, you guys will all get access and you can go watch the replays and it's all good. But, I think what became really interesting is here's how we made this more than just a bunch of webinars. So we had about 100, 150 people who registered who were planning to be in attendance for the in-person. We were actually trending a little lower on Reg. It was about 110 people. We were all optimistic we were going to get to 150. We're close to 500 people right now have registered for multipliers. So that's a 5x increase in registration, which, for us, we're a small company and that's 5. And by the way, high quality, everybody's in enablement. These are, and meaningful connections, and really, these are like 500, evangelists and really strong enablement professionals. And so here's what they do. When people start the Multipliers conference, they log into a Multipliers hood. So we basically virtualize the whole experience where every one of the speakers has a huddle inside SalesHood. But what everyone does, they log in, they get access, so everything is mobile enabled. So we have a lot of people that are, binging on content, just like they would binge on Netflix. I've used that a lot in my materials lately. But everybody records an intro story, right? Super simple. Who are you? Where are you from? And what's changed in your world in these times? So for those of you who are thinking about how to virtualize your programs, driving some engagement with your people to get them to record a story, share a story, whether it's a video story or a text, something to just get them engaged. Oh shit, sorry. My thing is just acting funny. Sorry. So we also gave a place for speakers to be, for participants to be able to ask speakers questions ahead of time, which is pretty great. Then we did the live broadcast, which is what you'd expect a live broadcast to be, similar to this. We recorded it, but then what we took the live broadcast and we broke them up into small chunks. So, we took out all the marketing fluff, all the me positioning the sessions, and really got to the meat of, okay, here's Werner's session on building the business impact. Here's the 20 minutes where Werner talks about it, and we got rid of all of the fluff before, and then here's the demo. So that way, when someone goes back to watch the replay, they can see the slides, they can hear the talks, and we've been pushing people to go ask questions and to share feedback, insights. So that way there's a somewhat of an experience that people can have, even though they weren't able to attend the broadcast. The slides are there, the templates are there, it's all great. And then what we did was we also have, so now there's a library. So each of you, when you get access, you'll get dropped into the path. There's a full library. And then we've also created an accreditation. So basically, if you complete the path and do all the assignments and record your personal impact story, and I haven't introduced this yet, but there's one more thing I'm gonna introduce, and you go meet one other person that's net new, and you go have like a face-to-face virtual meeting, and you document it. Just you would do call shadowing that we'd have our reps do. That way, then you get your impact certification. People love our certifications. So that's kind of the high-level program. I'm gonna go a little deeper. Eric, any comments or questions? Amy, anything to add or share? Werner, anything to add or share?
Well, I'll share for my part, and then I'll hand it off to Amy because she's our response in the spotlight. That was great, Eli. Just a couple other quick things. I mean, for me, my personal journey was that I didn't get the funding to go and attend multipliers. So it was a huge blessing to be able to attend it all, let alone to have something to do all month long. And now I've got something to do in May. And y'all, I mean, there's just some top notch peers and professional executives in the space. It's amazing, not only learning, but networking, because pretty much everyone said, link in with me. They know that if you're a part of the community and you're investing in yourself by spending time, that they will, I haven't had a single person that hasn't accepted my LinkedIn request and networked with me a little bit. It's been awesome. But Amy, I don't want to steal your thunder. You're the official on the docket to kind of reply and share how your multipliers experience has been.
Now?
That's you.
Just,
okay.
If you want to. You
Sure.
don't have to.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been in enablement for my entire career, and in 2018, a little bit to help set the picture, I started my own consulting business, and at the beginning of 2019, I also was working full-time at a startup, found SalesHood to implement as our enablement platform, led me into Multipliers 2019, had not known of Eli, the team, Multipliers before that, and I've said that conference really helped to build my professional network, which was a goal in 2019. It was, you walked into a room with like-minded people, much like this community is, and there were professional people that was doing the same work that I've been doing, where I hadn't really been looking to make those connections in the past. Fast forward to 2020, I went all in on ALLpropos, my consulting business, and like Eric, did not have the funds, was forecasting for my cash flow and needed to cut conferences, so was not able to attend. Then the world happened and a lot of folks pivoted to this virtual experience, and I'm fortunate that I've been able to join a lot of these conferences because the prices were minimized and fit into my forecasting. Eli mentioned the goals. So I would say for me as a learner, I learned slower. And if I'm in a person face-to-face event, it's awesome because of the energy and the connection that you can make. But it can be slightly awkward to do those backdoor conversations of like, oh, I really want to meet this person, but how will I? How do you really introduce yourself? The way that Multipliers has set it up with your intros and the ability to just connect virtually allows for more, it just feels more comfortable for somebody that has a little anxiety to introduce myself to people, right? So I thought that that was huge connection. I've connected with more people with really intimate conversations than I think I would have otherwise. And just being able to go back to all of the content. We got it all last year, but it's just easier. Like that instant Netflix binging has been incredible. So I think this is a blessing, Elay, and the work that Multipliers has been doing, the impact for me has been 10x. So I'm glad that you've gotten so many more people in. It's been fortunate. A nice shining silver lining.
Great. Thank you. It's great having you. It's great seeing you on those all the time. I know Werner's here. I want to do, before I have Werner introduce himself, I want to just go through a couple more quick things and I'll pass the baton back to you, Eric. I think, so Werner, so stick tight. So, and the reason is, I wanted to kind of pull this up and just share, like, there's some questions that have been come to me in the last few minutes, like what platform do we use? So from a technical perspective, the entire conference lives in SalesHood in the sense of, I'm using the SalesHood platform to drive collaboration, to distribute the videos, to track that folks are logging in, to do the peer-to-peer, to record the story. So it's powered by SalesHood. The live stream, we're using Zoom. So Zoom is how we're doing the live stream, but you can see here, this is what it looks like for Werner, right? So Werner, we created a huddle for Werner and for his team. This was an older version because now it's got the replay videos in there, but there was a video that Werner recorded. So Werner can, he introduced himself, told people what his goals are for a session. And then we had exercises for people. Why don't you do some pre-work? So, and you can see here a very directed question. What expected outcome did you use to build a business case for your sales enablement? And so you can see here how we're tying together collaboration to make it very topical, very topic specific, not topical, but you know what I mean. And Werner, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, no, thanks very much, Elay, and hi everyone. And so yeah, Werner Schmidt here from Sage. As Elay mentioned, we've got quite a big presence in Atlanta. That's where our main headquarters is for the United States. And it was just, it's been great to spend time, especially, even this session today, the thought that I'll be with sales enablement professionals based out of Atlanta was just very timely, considering I'm looking for a sales enablement director. So if anyone's interested, let me know. Not trying to poach anyone, but just in case you know anyone. But I'll just throw that in there.
Sage is hiring. Sage is growing.
It is. It's a good timing for this. It really was just by chance that it just all happened. So I thought I'd just mention that. But Elay, what I was thinking about the multipliers for me, I just really enjoyed telling the story about building the business case for sales enablement and how we used the SalesHood platform to be able to do that. And really, for me, it was just about the speed we were able to move at. Really at scale. I mean, we're a big company, and just create that rinse and repeat and repeatable enablement programs. But what I love is just having, that community of all these sales enablement professionals that are on that would join the sessions, and great to hear that over 500 now. And it's the conversations that happen afterwards and the connections that's happened after that. And interestingly enough, just on the session, I didn't realize this, John's on, and John and myself got to speak at another Sales Enablement Conference, Sales Enablement, last week. And again, we're now connected, and we've actually set up a regular call now. Well, Chris did it, that was the other person on the panel. And it just shows how we can connect with each other through this. And, I've been very fortunate and glad to be part of it. So thank you, Elay.
No, thank you for sharing. And again, I know Werner's hiring, so great company, great team. And just a couple more things just to explain some of the mechanics, and then I'm done. Fair? Are we okay on time? Okay. So here was the theme. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. We organized it. Amy, just a quick question. Are you feeling the impact vibe? Like, do you feel it? We're trying to stitch it together. Right. And so how's this impact? How's the impact theme showing up for you? I'm curious.
I think each of the sessions, because you've been lean and it's just, you cut all the fat, is making an impact. It gets the people what they want within the allotted time.
Okay, good. I love it. So you talked about, I already explained it. This is, I'm going to skip that. So what we did, we also are recognizing enablement rock stars. And so Lori was one of our speakers. And so rock star status. Today we had Siobhan Thatcher. I've recognized Siobhan through our Multipliers Awards as a she's gotten the lifetime achievement, but she did a fabulous session today. Incredible, talking about what basically how to develop your career, but it turned into how to be great in sales enablement. And we'll get that recording, live tomorrow by noon. And then I wanted to just explain one thing: make these sessions collaborative. So the first 6 or the first 5 for us, and this was a learning, right? It was 100% webinar based, where it was me, a couple panelists, a couple speakers, and we presented too, and we had a Q&A feed. But about 10 days ago, I felt that even though we had the virtual hood with the huddles and the collaboration and the stories, and even though we had the webinar experience, the live stream, I felt like we needed something in the middle. So we switched from using the webinar technology from Zoom, and we ended up using this technology, the meetings. And we literally then changed the content. And let me just kind of so we created breakouts. And so these breakouts worked out to be beautiful. We had maybe 50, 60 people that joined that one. And we basically pressed a button in Zoom and said, all right, everybody, even though you've recorded your story, go introduce yourselves, go. And they went for 10 minutes, came back. Here's how detailed our instructions were for people. I just want people to appreciate when you're running these kind of live virtual, you can't just bring people together and think it's going to work out, right? You got to think through every second, every minute. And so we show flowed the entire 90-minute workshop that we delivered 100% through, it was like 50% through Zoom. And then the other 50% was through SalesHood, because we had people then, and you can see this was breakout number 2. So, and the breakout was, hey, what are your biggest struggles? And what are some of the solutions to those struggles? And you know what? People just wanted to talk to each other, everything that's going on in the world. And so we had everybody go in, and they started collaborating on their biggest bundles. And then people came back to the hood and they entered in their answers. So now we've got 10 to 15 group-based discussions and summaries on top struggles, and we're going to turn that into a blog. So I've been really blessed. I'm going to get out of presentation mode. I've been really blessed to have a community of willing professionals who are willing to go on this journey with us and experiment what a live virtual conference can be like, using SalesHood and using the Zoom webinar and the Zoom meeting technology together. And it's been great. Folks have wanted more. And so, like Eric said, 2 a week's a bit much for me to continue forever, but we're going to do 1 a week. And for the next 4 weeks, the next 2 are the topics that I had to push out from April to make room for that workshop. And then the third topic is going to be the 4 most active people in the community, in multipliers, which is probably going to be Amy, maybe Eric. The 4 most active are going to come in, and we're going to do a panel discussion around kind of what's going on in your worlds right now. And then the very last one is going to be a virtual happy hour where we're going to give out awards, do a celebration. So boom, there it is. 2 days turned into a 60-day experience where now you've got a ton of people that are collaborating, getting to know each other, which otherwise they wouldn't have.
Love it, Eli. Thank you so much for that peek behind the curtain. I learned a bunch, and I've been on pretty much every minute of it so far. So that was really cool. And again, everyone, you're going to have access to all that content, and I highly recommend you take advantage of it. The process of recording your introduction video is awesome, and you can watch everyone else's and get to know them and figure out who you want to link in with and get to know more. It's really cool. It's a neat environment. And so with that, we'll circle back. If you have some questions for Eli, hold them for now. He's going to stick around with us, but I want to get on to Dave here. Dave Kurlan is the founder of the Objective Management Group, or OMG. That was back in 1990. He continues to be the CEO. They are the leading developer of sales assessment tools and a member of the 2006 and 2008 Inc. 5000. They feel that without a doubt, they have the best Salesforce evaluation and sales candidate assessment tool on the planet. So you've got the guy right here on the line. He's also the founder back in '85 of Kurlan and Associates, which is a full service sales management consulting and training firm. And I know that Josie not only attended the Partners Conference, she also obviously is a customer and advocate of them. So Dave, we'll let you take it away, and then to give us a little peek behind the curtain on how you pivoted your Partners Conference from face-to-face to virtual. And then we'll hear a little bit from Josie on her experience. Dave, take it away.
Thanks, Eric.
Pleasure.
So that was a great introduction. I appreciate it. So our challenge was similar to Eli. We had an April 2nd conference scheduled, but ours was 3 days. And we have 135 partners around the world that resell OMG Salesforce evaluations and sales candidate assessments. And most of them were coming to Boston for 3 days. And we pulled the plug and kind of changed it to virtual at the last minute. And we had to take basically 25 hours of content and turn it into a virtual event. So some of the challenges that we were facing was that we didn't want to do 3 days. We wanted to compress it into 2. And we wanted to increase attendance like Eli. So we had 120 that were coming. By the time everything was said and done, we had 210 online with us for most of the entire 2 days. I wouldn't do it again this way. We went 2 long freaking days. We eliminated the lunch breaks. One of the advantages was that not being in a hotel, we didn't have to coordinate with banquet services and refreshment breaks and restroom breaks. People could go to the restroom as they needed to. And they were in their comfy seats and their comfy clothes. So we could just keep going. And if they had to individually leave us for a few minutes, they did. And I'm not saying we didn't give them any breaks, but we didn't do the formal half-hour breaks and the 1-hour breaks. And we started an hour earlier. So with all that, we were able to cram 3 days of content into 2 days. But the challenge was, I've been training online since 2008. So I know the technology, and I know keeping people engaged gets difficult after 60 minutes because I rarely do anything more than 60 minutes at a time. And after 60 minutes, you're going to start losing people to their emails and their chats and everything else they have going on. So how do we keep them engaged for 8 and 9 hours a day? And how do we not compromise the event that we plan to hold, where they came to get trained on new product, trained on changes, trained on how to sell it, trained on how to deliver it? So how do we do all that, keep them engaged and not compromise the integrity of the event? So I'm going to share a couple of the results because I think the results tell the story. We asked them when it was all said and done, aside from the inability to network, which was the big thing they gave up, how was the virtual conference compared with our live conference? And you can see that about 55% said it was as good, and almost 30% said it was better, and only about 18% said not as good. So that was a huge win for us outcome-wise. We also asked how successful we were at holding their attention over those 2 long days, and 72-ish% said very good, and 26% said okay. So you can see that just a sliver, a couple people said not so good, but I think they were all ADHD, and it's on them. And then the real interesting one was we asked them, as we begin to plan for next year's conference, would you prefer the virtual conference or return to the conventional conference? And 63% said they would prefer the virtual event, whereas 38% said they prefer the conference. And most of the people that preferred the live congregate in Boston event are the people that just want to hang out. They want to hang out with people that are in the same business as them. They want to go to dinner with them. They want to network with them. So we had to decide how we were going to do this. So we were going to use Zoom, but we spent almost as much time debating whether we were going to use Zoom meeting or Zoom webinar as we did planning how we were going to virtualize the whole thing. With Zoom meeting, you have breakout rooms. but you lose Q&A. With Zoom Webinar, it's much easier to handle a crowd because you can pretty much kill everybody's video and kill everybody's audio, because while I love Zoom meeting and what you have going on right now, all the videos going at once can be very distracting. And people do the worst, craziest things while they're on camera, and they don't realize that they're, picking their nose or combing their hair or changing their shirt. Nobody needs to see that stuff. So we opted for Zoom Webinar just to have a little bit more control and to keep it a little bit more professional. And once we made that decision, then everything flowed from there. So I'm going to share some of the key things we did. We believed more slides, not less. So we ended up between the various speakers with 468 slides, which came out to 2.5 gigabytes of content. We made video a big part of it to hold their attention. We didn't go more than 20, 30 minutes without playing some kind of a movie clip, either just something that hammered home our point, or it was a humorous break that fit the subject matter we were talking about, or video to introduce the next session, or video to send them off on a break. But we used 22 different movie clips, and we included 30 different panelists. And the webinar version of Zoom was really good for managing panelists, because they could be promoted to panelists and be ready to flip video and audio on while still kind of being in a holding tank for us. One of the keys was there were 4 of us engineering this event. Whoever wasn't speaking was on engineering duty, monitoring chat, monitoring Q&A, monitoring panelists that needed to be promoted, and just kind of keeping wraps on everything. This is way too much for 1 or 2 people to do. So that brings out the importance of team. So we didn't rehearse it, but we definitely planned out each and every session. I think we had 18 sessions that we delivered over the 2 days. And the team of 4 were responsible for all of those sessions, and the panelists were in addition to the team of 4. So we did a lot of coordination. We did a lot of how is this going to work, and we really spent a lot of time on engagement. Okay, this is what we were going to deliver, but how does that work virtually? What do we have to change to make it work virtually? So a couple more keys. I would advise that it's not like delivering a webinar. This is really a live broadcast. And I saw those words on Eli's slides. I think it's really important to distinguish between a webinar where somebody speaks and works from slides, and that's pretty much a one-to-many experience, to a live broadcast where it's going to look like a TV show or a news show. Panelists in and out, panels in and out, lots of changes, different people on camera. And when you stop to talk a little bit, the slides go away. With Zoom Webinar, I'd be full screen right now, and you'd just be looking at me, and I'd be talking to you. And then when I'm ready to go back to the slides, we go back to the slides. Master whatever platform it is, master that platform so you can bring people in and out easily, get people in and out easily, so you can swap between slide sharing. There shouldn't be any pauses to figure out what you have to do next to keep the thing moving slowly. Think everything through to the end. Whether it's an event, a conference, a symposium, a day, a week, whether you're going to break it out and do it over 2 months like Eli, think through every session and every slide of that session to make sure that you've got everything covered. And we used Kahoot to break things up. Your kids would know what Kahoot is. It's a virtual game, but at the end of a session, not all the sessions, but at the end of some sessions, we'd flip to a Kahoot screen. We'd ask a question. Everybody'd log in on their phones, and we'd do it to see whether they learned what they were supposed to learn. So we did it as a test, and everybody competed for the highest scores. And using Kahoot made it a lot of fun, along with keeping it interactive. The chats were going all day long. So the chats didn't stop from 8 a.m. of day one until 5 p.m. on day two. I mean, it was just a stream of everybody commenting and talking to each other. We thought that was really good. And I've got the toggle slide. That's actually a toggle, but in full screen, it just looks like a bottle opener. That's bad visual, but do a lot of toggling back and forth between speakers, back and forth between different cameras, back and forth between slides, bring people in, bring people out, stop every few minutes to capture questions and give answers. And it can be a really engaging, exciting, entertaining success. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Love it, Dave. That was great and concise. And I want to put in a pseudo plug. Yeah, clap. Or I heard this is the Zoom clap for those on mute. So, but that just is strange. I do that anyway, so it's all right. But Dave actually put together a really cool key takeaways document on LinkedIn. I think he posted it to his own website and on LinkedIn. And speaking of, I kind of started off saying this about multipliers, but please reach out to the guests today. They're amazing folks. They have amazing networks. Link in with them. Check out their profiles. Look at the stuff they're linked to and they're talking about. This is our community. We're building it. We're here to elevate the profession, and these folks are doing just that. And either with sales enablement directly, or even our clients, sales management and sales leadership. So please do that and take advantage of it and check out his article. There's even more information. So with that plug aside,
and I just put the link to it in the chat.
Oh, hey, how about look at that instant gratification? What's better than that? You didn't have to scratch a lottery ticket. So Josie, would love to hear your take, and I'll hedge this by saying Josie doesn't just run around waxing poetic about every little thing she hears or sees. So when I was speaking with her maybe 3 weeks ago, I don't know, 3 weeks or a month, and she talked about how she had attended Dave's event. She wasn't even sure if she was going to go to the Boston event originally. When it turned virtual, she's like, yeah, I'll go. I'll check it out. Maybe I'll stay for a day. And she ended up going to the whole thing and was just speaking very highly of the experience and how engaging it was. And that really caught my attention. And so that's what brought Dave here. And Dave, again, thanks for your time. And Josie, would love to hear a little bit more about your journey as a participant.
Eric, thank you so much for the opportunity to talk. Hi, everyone. I hope you're all doing well, staying safe. So you're absolutely right. It was going to be held in Boston. It was going to be, not only travel, but time away from work. I was in the middle of a big project. And so I didn't have the time to give up to go to the conference. So I initially was one of those people that had let Dave know that I couldn't make the conference. And I'm a fairly new OMG partner. I've been having the Salesforce evaluation tool as part of my business now for about 6 months. And so it would have been a great conference for me to go to if I had had the time. But I didn't realize until I attended the virtual event just how wonderful it was going to be. So, when somebody says to you, hey, do you want to go to this virtual event? It's going to be 8 hours for 2 full days. You're thinking, really? 8 hours? I mean, it's bad enough, when you go to an event and you sit in the rooms, at least it's interactive, right? And so I thought, oh, I don't know. But I thought, hey, why not? I'll sign up for the first day and we'll see how it goes. And I'll probably only go to a couple sessions. Sorry, Dave, that's really what my thought was on this. And so I signed up for it. I got on for the first session. It was so interactive. That's what was amazing. We were like on chat all day long, commenting about all the different speakers. I thought all the speakers were super engaging. One of the key themes of the conference that Dave didn't mention, that I will for you, is that I felt like his theme of the conference should have been what's in it for you. Meaning everything that he positioned to a partner was about, let me help you become better in the business that you do. Yes, some of it is leveraging this tool, but some of it had nothing to do with this tool. It was just about me building out a better practice. It was fabulous for that. And so I felt like we did have networking, even though we weren't next to each other. We were chatting back and forth. Some of us were on LinkedIn chat at the same time, talking back and forth. We've all been linking in with each other ever since. And we've been getting together and doing introductory conversations. So that's how I've leveraged the networking from the virtual event. And it's been wonderful to get to know so many of the partners that have been around a long time that do complementary things to what I do. The Q&A sessions, man, we flooded up the Q&A queue, and Dave and his team were phenomenal at answering every single one of those questions before we moved on to the next topic. I thought the polling was great to gauge us as we went along. And Dave, I was going to plug Kahoot too, because I just thought it was fantastic. I love the gamification of it. I loved all of the challenges that we got answering the questions as fast as we could. It was a really, really engaging conference. So not only did I attend day one, but I showed up on day two, and I attended all of day two as well. And that was on a Saturday. So if you can get people to show up and be that engaged on a Saturday when you're giving up your personal time, you've done a fabulous job. So really, hats off, Dave, to you and the team. I loved the conference, and I really hope it stays a virtual conference. I thought it was that good.
Thank you so much, and I hope it stays a virtual conference too. The other side of that is we saved around $100,000.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing.
And timing couldn't be better for that, right?
For sure. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Love it. Thanks for
So Eric, I hope that was helpful.
It was very helpful. I'm going to be a little counterpoint as a hardcore extrovert, and I'm going to jump back and not to mention a guy that's in the corporate large event business, right? Sales kickoffs and user conferences and whatnot. I'm still a pretty big fan of the face-to-face experience. My suggestion is that the future lies somewhere in the middle, and that I think Dave even alluded to it, that you got those crazy 45, 50% that want to get together and go to those dinners and have that face-to-face experience. I think we're seeing an evolution to everything from sales kickoffs to partner conferences to user conferences, where it's going to be a hybrid. And some of those folks will subscribe and stay home and get that content, whether paid or whether it's internal. Others will be chomping at the bit to get out and maybe even see Maroon 5 rock the stage and still take a little bit of a chunk out of that wallet, right? And do it more Salesforce style, like Eli's roots, right? Dreamforce. I've never been to one, but I've heard they're pretty sweet. So all that said, I don't know if we have any questions from anybody. I mean, we've got it wide open, so feel free to chime on in if anyone wants to raise a hand.
Hey, Eli, Dave, John here. A quick question for you guys. So what didn't work? What was
Great
the negative? You guys told us all the wonderful success stuff, but what was the downsides?
From my perspective, we debrief our conference when it ends, and we sit down and we do the positives and the negatives and a SWOT analysis. And first conference ever, there weren't any negatives. Nobody complained. Nobody raised a fuss. We were able to control problem children. And I don't know about Eli, but at our conference, there's always 5 or 6 people who just want to hear themselves talk. So, when they're standing up and raising their hand, you can't ignore them, but we could on a virtual conference. So we didn't even have to get the complaints from the partners who were complaining about the other partners who were monopolizing the time and distracting the group and keeping us from moving along. So we didn't have any negatives. Eli?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. And, something that we fixed. So the fact that we got to our 5th broadcast and I was feeling disconnected, And I got 2 or 3 emails from people that said, hey, how could you facilitate more collaboration versus kind of being talked to? They appreciated everything. Everyone came really nice and everyone was really polite. And so that was an interesting point for me because I was like, huh. And so I'm pleased that I got that feedback because we had a really special, unique experience last Thursday where we had everybody go through, take the lessons and the topics that we talked about, and then break up into groups multiple times. And so the thing that didn't work in the spirit of that, it's this choice that the Zoom technology forces you to make to either run a webinar or run a meeting like this where you can do breakouts. That is it's not a natural choice because when I'm in a 60 to 9 minute experience with a group of people, yes, I want to present. And then, yes, I want to be able to go into groups. And then, yes, I want to be able to go back and present. I want to go back and forth. And I think that's a flaw in the Zoom tech. It's amazing what Zoom has been able to do. I think ultimately, I'm a product guy, right? So I think ultimately we're going to find, and so before I say that, the other thing that was a pain for us was the registration. So I already had reg done through a ticketing process for my conference. And that was already done. And so then I'm like, okay, well, now I got to re-register people. So then we migrated everyone. And then I'm like, well, wait a minute. Now we got to, then a week in, I thought, you know what, why don't I just open this up? And so then I opened this up to the world and I'm like, oh shit, now I got registrations for each individual broadcast. Then I got the registrations from before, and then I got the registrations for the week before. And then it turned into a really big Google sheet I'm grateful for Justin on my team who is doing that, but that's a pain. And because it's a pain because I've got disparate data now, and now I got to pull it all in. I got to update SalesHood for the tracking of the certifications, and then I got to update HubSpot for the tracking, so that way I can improve and keep my marketing score current. So there doesn't seem to be an end-to-end system for live virtual systems that does it all. And that's the same for any industry in any category. But I think where we're going, last sentence and I'm done, where we're going is I think there's going to be Zoom-like technology that's going to be role-based, that's going to be industry-based, that's going to tackle the registration and the collaboration workflows. So for example, like doctors, right? The way they use Zoom is different than the way salespeople use Zoom and different than the way real estate agents use Zoom. So I think we're going to see huge advancements in the tech to support this experience. To me, that's the biggest thing that I wish would have been more streamlined.
Thanks, guys.
I'm being kind. It was a pain in the ass, the registration part.
But
Eli, I was
you wouldn't have
expecting
known that without this kind of an event, right?
Pardon me?
We wouldn't have known those limitations without this kind of an event.
Yeah, it's true.
If I can add one thing on the registration, we similarly had everyone registered for the event through Eventbrite. And so we just scrapped it and started over using Zoom's registration where approval was required. Because, we know who's walking into a ballroom for our event, but we also wanted to know who was walking into our virtual conference. So we denied 5 or 6 people. One of the requirements we had was that our partners be certified, and we had some names register that we had never heard of before. They weren't in our system. They weren't certified. So that gave us the ability to say, sorry, you can't come. And that was pretty cool.
We charged, right? Our conference was $7.99. This one, when we shifted it to the live virtual broadcast, we dropped it to $199. And it wasn't because I wanted to make money. I wanted to make sure that people that were committed were going to commit and go through the journey with us. And because 1 year, about 3 years ago, 4 years ago, not 3 years ago, I had a marketing person on my team that they were doing for our conference. They started doing ads, and it was a free conference. And then I remember being in the room going, who are these people? They're not enablement people. and it was the wrong conference. It was the wrong energy. And so like you guys experienced with your conference, like the Q&A, the feed, there was awesome energy. Just being on the broadcast for 60 minutes and just watching that feed and hearing a speaker talk, that in itself was worth enough just to kind of pull up an industry and pull up a profession and pull up people in a time where you got to connect any way you can. Someone's asking me why I dropped the price. Yeah, you know, here's why I dropped the price. The cost went down, so I saved a lot of money, right? So you know, to run an event in San Francisco is $100,000. So the only thing I lost, and you know, shame on the company, that shame on the venue, they won't give me back the money because they're saying I can do an event in the future, and shame on them. So that was $25,000, and you know, I added. So when I did the live virtual, I actually have a video person shooting me in the office. I'm the only one in the office, so it's safe. And I've got my video guy 6 feet away from me with a mask, just because the quality of the production I wanted to keep up. So therefore, we've got Zoom, and when you watch the replays, I'm introing the videos with me full stream with high quality video, because I do. I think, you know, Barbara, I think ultimately, if someone wants access to multipliers, I'm very close to starting to charge for it. I think it's to complete the accreditations. Did I answer your question?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I was thinking it's really great content, and they're still getting the benefit of that great content. But then, of course, you said you reduce some costs, so you pass that on to the people participating. And then also I could see that since it's the first time, you might be learning some things. So I appreciate that, Elay. And so Dave, what about you? Did you also make a decision to change? Did you keep it the same? I'm curious.
Well, we don't charge our partners to attend.
Oh,
so
I see.
they're coming in on our dime, and we're feeding them, and we're taking care of them for a few days. They just have to get there and pay for their hotel room. So if we had reduced the fee, we'd have been paying them to sign up.
Right.
Well, if you were to do it virtually again, and knowing they don't have to, because, you know, travel can get pretty expensive, would you reverse that decision and maybe still charge or not?
Not for our partners. Certainly on the other side of the business, on the Kurlan business,
Right, when you're bringing in training, yeah.
We'd certainly be charging normal fees for doing that virtually. But for this event, no.
Cool.
That's great. And I was surprised, actually. I'm a big fan of the annual Serious Decision Summit. Now Forrester owns them. But it was interesting to me. They didn't change their price point to go virtual, and it's $2,500 to $3,000 for a 3-day event, and they didn't knock a dime off of it that I've seen. So it's going to be interesting. I don't know if they'll ever fully disclose what attendance shifted to or from, but there's kind of a precedent being set that people are, some businesses are in fact keeping the price point high.
On the success of converting the OMG conference to virtual, on the Kurlan and Associates business, we do an annual sales leadership intensive. So we moved that from a live in-person May event from a 2-day live event in May to a 3-day virtual event in June, and we did not discount the fee. It's still $1,495 a person.
One point, we have something called Selling Through Curiosity. Selling Through Curiosity is sales training, sales curriculum that we have baked into our platform as well. Now, you can buy it in person by a trainer, and you can run it in person, and that's one way to do it. We also have an on-demand library. Josie knows it, Eric knows it, and Werner obviously uses it at Sage. But when we launched a live virtual version of the week-long workshop, we do it over 5 days. We do it over 30 days, 5 sessions, 4 hours a session, and we didn't drop the price. You know, we invested the time on the front end, but 2 to 3 months to create an experience down to the second that is high quality, collaborative, and truly impactful. And so Barbara, your point's a good one. I think I had to turn quickly, and so, you know, for me to do it again, to get more thoughtful about the sequencing and the flow and add a little bit more production value, I'll probably charge more, like we are on the actual sales training for Selling Through Curiosity.
Well, I think it's good though that both you and Dave, are respecting the quality of the content and the time that goes into it, because I think sometimes people think, oh, it's virtual, so somehow it's, somehow there's less work that goes into it. And actually, as Dave demonstrated, there's, and probably you did as well, there's quite a bit more work that can go into it to really think through what that experience is going to be like. And so I think protecting the price for the right scenario makes a lot of sense.
I'd guess we spent triple the amount of time to make it successful virtually.
Interesting. Well, I think we're at time. I'm going to just a couple quick plugs before we roll out, and some questions to leave y'all with. First of all, Barb, thanks for chiming in. For those that don't know, Barb not only runs a podcast, Women in Sales, correct?
Yes, it's called Conversations with Women in Sales, the only one for women in sales so far.
Awesome. So she's representing the ATL well in that space, and she is also very involved in the Sales Experts channel, and in fact has a webinar coming up on this very topic. I'm sure that's part of the reason she has these timely questions. Making the pivot, transforming the sales kickoff experience. That's going to be on Cinco de Mayo at 3 p.m. and I'm honored that I'm going to be a part of that panel as well with her. So hope you all can join that. I'm sure she'll share up the link. We'll put it together a nice little package. Not only do we have that, but Elay again is going to be sharing SalesHood information with us. I'm really excited to continue to read out. I'm not only going through the certification for Impact as part of MULTIPLIERS, I'm also certifying on SalesHood, and Eli's been kind enough to share Sales Enablement Society instance that I'm toying around with some of the awesome content from the conference to maybe put something together where we could use SalesHood to record some introductory videos and even just use the networking feature. It's really neat. And start to play around with some of the, play around. To me, it's fun with some of the technology in our space. So Elay, thanks for that as well. And finally, he mentioned the selling through curiosity. I'm going through that as well. I was not familiar with it. I'm really enjoying the methodology and the process of having a methodology that's embedded in a tool, a sales enablement tool, and that it's virtual by nature, as Elay shared. So I'll be happy to share my journey in that tool and in all of the above with anyone that's interested, and more to come on that. And speaking of more to come, we obviously have upcoming Sales Enablement Society meetings. We were trying to get in a groove of every fourth Tuesday. We don't really have enough time to get feedback from everybody, but would love to know offline if 5 o'clock on Tuesdays Eastern works in a regular cadence. If you liked the format, we'll put maybe a little web form, Google form together to capture some of that information, and we welcome any and all topics. Final note, last but certainly not least, thank you again to our amazing guest panel. What an honor to have you, Elay and Amy. And did we already lose Dave? I think we lost Dave. They're all jumping off. And Josie, we went over the top of the hour, so my apologies for that. I'll work to get better on it. But man, I loved this meeting. I hope everyone else did too. And I hope those of you watching the recording did as well. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a blessed rest of the week. And thanks for attending and for your support. Bye-bye now.
Fantastic. Great job, Eric. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Great info, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Eric.
Pleasure.